Everyone. Welcome to the new session of the Curriculum, Co-Curricular Athletics, and Pupil Personnel Services meeting. It's my honor to chair this meeting now that Ms. Balco is no longer on the board. I have on this meeting with me Ms. Carmen Alvarez, who is also the vice chair of the committee. I have Mr. Zeichner with me, and of course, Ms. Fabiano is here. And on the drive here, it just made me realize that I'm the odd one out in this room. I'm the only one who doesn't work for the school district. I've never worked for the school district. And on that note, I want to thank you all and congratulate you on the Teacher Appreciation and Staff Appreciation Week. Thank you for the great work that you do every single day. A very heartwarming story that I want to share to start this meeting. I met my neighbor yesterday, and when I moved into this town 15 years ago, her son was in 5th grade. Brookside Elementary, and my neighbor's an accountant, by profession, and she was sharing that Mr. Tortorello had a project in 5th grade, build a museum or something like that. And one of the things on the rubrics was that the kids had to make a front elevation and an isometric drawing, and I'm an engineer. So I understood what she was talking about, but she was very overwhelmed as a parent because she had to buy the right kind of paper and, hold her son's hand through it. But her son is really enjoying that project. Bring it back to today. He graduated, he did his bachelor's in civil engineering, and today is pursuing grad school for structural engineering. So that's the impact that you guys have. The kid loved that project, and from that moment on, he knew what he wanted to do in life. And I'm so proud of that young man. He drives every day to Rowan University. He's pursuing his grad school for structural engineering. And so I wanted to share that unknown to you, you're making a difference every day. So thank you to everybody who's here tonight, to all our teachers in Monroe District. We really are blessed with the staff that we have here. To start this meeting, I would like to go around the room to have you all introduce yourself with people who are, board members who are, Mr. Wagner, who is on the committee for the first time, and people who are tuned in and listening, so that they know who's who and what is your area of supervision. So I know Dr. Chanley's not here. I want to wish her quick recovery. For those of you that don't know, she had an emergency surgery and is out sick for that. Hopefully we'll be back next week. Dr. Lehman, we can start with you and then go around the room.
Sure. Dr. Lehman, Assistant Superintendent of Schools.
Dr. Kelly Roselle, I supervise language arts, world language, ESL bilingual, and the media literacy program for the district.
I am high school principal.
Susan Gasco, Supervisor of Mathematics and Educational Technology.
Charles Eichner, Board Member.
Samantha McLeod, Supervisor of Curriculum and Instruction for Kindergarten through 5th.
Stephen Barandica, Director of Athletics and Co-Curricular Programs.
Gail Snyder, I'm the Supervisor of Fine and Performing Arts and Physical Education and Health.
Danielle Drost, I am the Supervisor for Science and Social Studies.
Jennifer Roldan, I'm the Supervisor of Special Education for elementary level.
Marietta Ruella, Director of Pupil Personnel Services.
Anthony Arcaro, I'm the Supervisor of Special Education for grades 6 through 12.
Zach Maralda, Director of Innovative and Equity Programs, Community Relations, and I also supervise K-12 Careers Technology.
Carmen Alvarez, Board Member.
Mrs.
Katie Fabiano, Board President.
And myself is Ala Bora. Sorry, I didn't introduce myself. I just wanted to speak to the new version of this committee that we just, changed going into this session. This was originally just the Curriculum, Co-Curricular, and Athletic Committee, and we had added Pupil Personnel Services to it. And I wanted to shed some light. I want to first start by giving credit to Ms. Alvarez. This was her, brilliant idea that everybody, Dr. Chanley, Dr. Lehman, and all of us on the board felt was very appropriate. We've always had special ed supervisors on the committee, and we've talked about some agenda items, but by putting that focus with the name Pupil Personnel Services, the idea here is to literally provide a platform to discuss 3 things. One is the various mental health initiatives that are going on in our school district. The other is to highlight the programs in special ed that are happening all the time, but we don't, put that much focus in this committee always. Now it'll be, because it's part of the main committee description, we'll hopefully do more of that. And lastly, the social emotional learning aspect of it. All curriculum has that, inbuilt in it, but we hope to put a little bit more focus into the social emotional, the SEL part of our curriculum. So that's the whole idea behind addition to this committee, and I'm excited. Myself and Ms. Alvarez had a little pre-meeting with Dr. Lehman yesterday to see what's coming up in the pipeline, and I honestly always said this is my favorite committee, and I'm really looking forward to the upcoming year. So this is a great segue because our first agenda item, I think, is related to our PPS title. I'm going to give it over to Dr. Higgins to talk about capturing kids' hearts. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to do my best to describe this program called Capturing Kids' Hearts. I am not going to do it justice. I invite everybody to visit their website, capturingkidshearts.org. I will tell you a little bit about what it is, how I became exposed to it, and where we're moving forward with it. So I was hired as the high school principal at the end of 2019, and obviously 3 months later, my focus of where the high school was going had to switch. When I first took over, I was really looking at changing the culture of our high school. And after we came out of COVID, I really started to focus on addressing the overall culture of the high school from top to bottom. And I was invited 2 years ago now to a program where a few gentlemen were presenting this program called Capturing Kids' Hearts. And if anybody in education has gone to a program before, usually you drive to the program and you're saying to yourself, I can't believe I have to sit in this room for 2 days and listen to somebody preach about something. And I'm not going to lie, that's exactly how I felt. I was invited by Dr. Critelli, our district supervisor for counseling. She heard about it through the grapevine from other colleagues in different schools. And for the first day, we did a lot of work on student social emotional learning and relationship building. And by the second day, I could not drive there fast enough in my car. I am not one to really get all mushy-gushy, touchy-feely, right? Like I'm pretty pragmatic, and I can tell you that the 2 days that I spent with Capturing Kids' Hearts really opened up my eyes to a lot of things that maybe we don't do in this school district or even in the state. One of the things that I was thinking as I was going through this program was they work with a lot of different teachers and students in states throughout the country. I think they tout that they have trained 10% of the teachers in the country in Capturing Kids' Hearts. Millions of students, thousands of teachers, and they don't have a real big presence in New Jersey. That presence is ever growing. But one of the things that I was always thinking about was, New Jersey's one of the best states in the country for education. We don't need these things. Well, taking stock in where we've been and where we've come over the past couple of years, these are definitely programs that we can institute in our schools that are research-driven. They are professional programs, workshops for students, for teachers that are centered around social emotional well-being for students and for staff. Relationship-driven culture for staff and for students, and student connectedness or connectedness between staff and students. Like I said, I can't really go into, we could be here forever to talk about exactly the things that we have gone through. Since that time, I have introduced this to a couple of other of my colleagues, some sitting right here, that have taken the same 2-day leadership training or training that I've taken. And I believe that it is really starting to spread around the district as being something that could be highly effective for our students, but also for our staff. Next year, I have budgeted to bring in Capturing Kids' Hearts for a 1-day workshop program for our students in the high school, which we will be doing the first day of school next year. I've already started to incorporate a lot of what I've been receiving from them or learning from them in faculty meetings or throughout the school day. And it's really had very small but noticeable differences in the culture in the building. For instance, I will give you an example. One of the things that we learned or that we did were, I'm losing my thought now. Writing cards out for your fellow colleagues as far as giving them compliments and not necessarily signing it. And I'm forgetting exactly what it is. Affirmations, thank you. Affirmations. And when you do the training, you, throughout the 2 days, you have cards that you write affirmations to other people in the trainings. And they have bags that you leave the affirmations in for each. And at the end of the 2 days, when you walk out, you have the stack of cards with different affirmations about who you are and what you do. And it's really uplifting and it's very nice. So we started doing that at our faculty meetings. We would have a box with cards, and as you come in, you grab a card and you write an affirmation to a fellow colleague. Not necessarily something like, hey, physics class was great, but I love the way that you really inspire your kids or things like that. It was presented to the teachers at a faculty meeting. They really latched onto it. And we actually don't get a lot of affirmations at the faculty meetings anymore, because if you go into the faculty room, they're like stuck to the windows or they're stuck to somebody's workspace. So the teachers are kind of doing it on their own now. So it's really a culture building and a culture shift program that not only works for staff and faculty, but it also works for building relationships between students and teachers and moving into a new SEL arena that we are moving into. Building those relationships between students and teachers are probably going to be the most important thing moving forward. Obviously, content, I'm sitting here with content supervisors. Yes, content is still very important, but we live in a different world than we did 5 years ago. And switching that culture into connectedness between students and teachers is really going to be the forefront. And this program does a lot to start us off in getting there. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of teamwork amongst our staff moving forward. And it's not kind of like a one and done type of thing. They're going to come in for a day and everything is going to be changed. So it's definitely an investment that I'm willing to make as far as building a culture in this building for our students and our teachers. I'm hoping that it's something that can branch out district-wide at some point. I've talked to Dr. Chanley about it numerous times. I've talked to Dr. Lehman, and I know some of my colleagues are on board with it as well. So it's hopefully something that I will keep coming back and reporting on as we move down the road. That's kind of it in a nutshell. Like I said, I could talk about this forever. Actually, I couldn't, because I don't really. I know people that could talk about this. But that's really an overview of the program. And like I said, for some reason, it really was not something that was big in New Jersey. But since they've started really expressing themselves here and focusing on some of my colleagues throughout the state, it's starting to pick up a little bit.
So just clarify, the team is coming in, Capturing Kids Arts team is coming to work with the staff.
Correct.
The first day.
Correct, yes.
I was just gonna ask that.
Yep.
So, this is, of course, this sounds very exciting. Definitely something that, every district could use, and I'm glad you are piloting this in our district. Thank you for that. So the execution plan right now, what we are talking about is the Capturing Hearts team coming and talking to our students on the first day of school.
Staff,
That,
faculty.
just our staff.
Yep.
Not the students.
Yep,
So the
it's a
first day-
workshop. It's a day
Just
long,
for the
6
entire high
hours.
school staff.
Yep, team building workshop for our staff,
Like a professional development.
professional development.
Okay, so, and that's the day that staff and service day is when we will be using that. And this is budgeted into your high school.
Correct, yes, I budgeted in last year.
And then we hope the staff will bring it into the students every day.
So yeah, there's a lot of discussion to happen from that point, but that is a starting off point for changing the culture, adjusting the culture in this building, or continuing to adjust the culture in this building. What we have a discussion about follow-up from Capturing Kids' Hearts or moving district-wide, or just, branching out with different things. that's a different discussion for a different time. Yeah.
So when you went for this yourself, Dr. Higgins, is this something that is district-wide, like elementary through high school, or is this more
It could be.
focused on high school when you took that training? Is it more focused on?
It's actually, if you look at their website, they target, I hate to use the word target, but they serve students, faculty, board members from
Okay.
the lowest grade to the highest officials in the, they work with all different facets of the educational. They also have programs for just leadership, called the Leadership Blueprint, and they have programs for coaching and coaches and athletics too. So I invite you to look at their website. It's pretty powerful stuff.
Anybody else have any questions? Yes. Mrs.
Yeah, how does, it builds self-esteem, correct, Dr. Higgins?
It does, building self-esteem in really building relationships between students and their teachers. We're living in a world, I think, where students are becoming more disconnected from other humans, never mind just their teachers. And this is what this does is empowers teachers to continue to try to build those relationships with students, and in turn, building that success within those students.
Where is the program currently having a lot of success? In what area within the United States?
Again, I invite you to look at the website, and I'm sure that you could parse out where that's happening. The person that I'm working with right now is from North Carolina, so I can tell you that it's successful there.
And how does that, and the only other question, how does that help improve students' test scores academically, cognitively?
Right, so we're talking about a couple different facets here. We talk about content, we talk about test scores, but we also talk about the social emotional piece of our students as all kind of being one. So when we talk about teachers going in and teaching the X's and O's, we're also talking about teachers supporting students emotionally, so they have the ability to focus on those content areas. So it's really part of the entire package.
So just to build off of what you're saying, so in my school, somebody has put Post-its all around our building with just random messages of, affirmations and positivity, and just seeing those around really does give, your spirit a boost. And in talking about, student achievement, especially in high school, I feel when the students feel valued, they want to do better. So when they see that, and they see that the staff is, wanting to form a relationship and wanting to work with them, I think it's kind of that trickle down effect where you'll see, I hate to say buy-in, but they'll feel like there's more.
But that's what
buy-in.
it is buy-in. And I'll tell you, I started off the story with, I'm not one to buy into things like that.
Yeah.
And it really, I'm passionate about it because it's something I actually bought into. And I know what you mean by not wanting to make it almost clinical and buying into it. A very interesting thing, and I kind of didn't talk about this too. I had a breakfast with the student of the month last year, the students of the month. And one of the students was sitting next to me. He goes, "Oh, look at these. These are pretty cool." And I said, "What are they?" And they were little pieces of affirmation that his teacher was doing in one of his classes that the students were giving to one another. So it's definitely trickling down. Right now, it's trickling down slowly. I'm hoping to jumpstart that.
I have a question. Well, first I want to say thank you for identifying the need for that, because especially after COVID, there's been a lot of disconnect between students and people, or even our children and people, and they're on their phones and on the computer. And even I'm seeing the 3-year-olds coming in having really poor social skills because they're been in front of a tablet at home, the whole time. So thank you for identifying that. This contract is just for that one training? Okay.
Yes.
That was my only question. And then the travel is for them to come to us.
Yes, there is, the way that the contract is parsed out, I believe that there is a fee for the service, and then there is an additional travel fee for their, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, Mrs. Blackman, go ahead.
Is this the first year that this is being introduced?
Here, yes.
Yeah, and how are you going to evaluate?
how am I going to evaluate it? So I can tell you that the things that I've already gotten out of it, I've seen a change in the culture in the building. And that's really what my goal is. And like I said, my goal originally 5 years ago was to start to adjust the culture in the high school, which had to take a little bit of a break. And we started to do small things ever since I even sat in this 2-day training. So my evaluation is going to be the visual aspects of the change in culture in this building.
Anybody else have any questions? Oh, thank you for your time, Dr. Higgins. I know you have other plans, so.
I have a
feel
few
free.
more minutes before I have to go.
The next item on the agenda is
You've never been
Roselle.
for summer reading.
Summer reading.
All right.
You might want to start with the high school level, but I need to have a comment on that, but thank you. Go ahead.
Actually, I'm going to start K-5.
Of course.
Our summer reading program is something that I really pride ourselves on. The cornerstone is inclusivity and building classroom community. There is nothing punitive about our summer reading program when students get back. The goal is to be able to equip students and families in particular, when students are younger, with award-winning titles, titles that connect to our content areas when they come back to school, and to relevant themes and experiences based on the grade levels. Each of our summer reading documents begins with a parent letter that includes some resources. The second page for K-5 are resources for parents. So when parents access this document from their child's teacher's Google Classroom, from the website, when it's emailed home, I email these documents through Blackboard Connect as well. They can click on these live links. Some of these provide information. For example, Reading Rocket provides information on how to read with your child, some different strategies. We have some reluctant readers, and parents are not trained educators. So how do we engage students who may be reluctant readers? Goodreads and Common Sense Media are ways to find book reviews and to look at the contents of books and making sure that parents are matching books well with their students. A link to Monroe Township Public Library. I cannot say enough good things about our partnership with our public library and our youth librarians, our teen and children's librarians. They also have copies, and they make sure that we have ample copies to check out for students. We have some free text links on here. And we also have a link to Learning Ally. So students who may have an identified need through an IEP of 504 or status as an English language learner, or in any of our intervention programs, have access to Learning Ally. Learning Ally is a nonprofit organization that provides human-read text and print, I shouldn't say print copy, digital copy, so that students can follow along. They have the ability to mark text, speed the text up, slow it down, make it larger. So it is a great tool because our goal is to provide equity and access to all of our learners. The next page is habits of good readers. These are the same things that are discussed in classrooms with students. And then we go into our summer reading suggestions. These are not requirements. All of our documents are merely suggestions, curated lists. You can see there's not many changes. The changes are highlighted in yellow. And we try to look at, so for example, Big by Vashti Harrison was the Caldecott winner. We have to put the Caldecott winner on our summer reading list. And some other titles that are really popular in our school media centers or with families. We have the list broken down by genre. So if a parent knows that their child is really into historical fiction or into mysteries, or maybe they're in a poetry phase, who knows? They can go right to this list, and we have little blurbs for each of the titles. On the last page for K-5, we have favorite authors, favorite series broken down by the grades 1 through 3 bands and the grades 4 through 5 band. That is K-5. Grades 6 through 12. Some of the feedback that we had from students and from teachers in the beginning of the school year was that we had a lot of students saying they forgot what they read, or they weren't sure, they were getting books confused or things like that. So we did add a little choice board about the book and about the reader. So we're encouraging students as they complete their reading books to keep a reader's journal and complete one of the tasks, not just about the book, but about the reader. And the rationale for that is we have a readers and writers workshop in our grades 6 through 8 classrooms. Students are reading a volume of text, and we want to build a community of readers those first few weeks of school. So it's we put students into groups based on their favorite genres, favorite authors, and things like that. So we want them to be able to access the information they read. Again, new titles are highlighted, and these are broken down by genre. There can be a big difference between a 6th grader and an 8th grader, but also between 2 8th graders. So we really encourage parents. There are some young adult titles on here. There are also some middle grade titles on here. We have blurbs for the books, but again, we encourage parents consult the public librarians, to consult the internet sources that we have in here to make sure that there's a good match between the books that their children are reading, their maturity level, and the content as well. Finally, we have the high school summer reading list. This is broken down by grade level. And at each grade level, we have themes linked, whether it is to our curriculum documents, to the teenage experience, to different topics that might be in their history or their science classes as well. So each grade level has 2 texts that we subbed out because they were just getting, I don't want to say stale, but we wanted to add some new titles in here. And there's a couple that I'm really excited about. Grade 10, America Redux, Visual Stories from My Dynamic History, is a history book, but really told through those images. It's a really nice accompaniment. Grade 10 is American Literature. Students are also taking US 1, so it's a great text for students to read. And then in grade 11, one of School Library Journal's best books of 2023, What the Fact, Finding Truth in All the Noise, is all about media literacy and how students can really parse out the information that they're consuming, whether it is valid. On the last page, we have our AP titles. And we did add AP Seminar. From speaking with both of our AP Seminar teachers and our AP Seminar students, to give them kind of a leg up going into the year, we did hyperlink some summer work. The AP are the only texts that are really required. Students are required to read for grade 11, 1 from each. And then in grade 12, they are required to read both, and the AP Seminar students are required to complete that summer work prior to the text, to starting the course.
I'm going to start in reverse order because I remember this last question. Okay. The seminar work is in addition to whatever grade level books that they're supposed to read.
Yes.
Over the summer.
So AP Seminar is it is not technically a language arts course.
Right.
We do have one social studies teacher teaching a couple sections. We have a language arts teacher teaching a couple sections. It is an interdisciplinary course. So yes, their language arts course, they would still want to select a title from their grade level list.
Okay, and that link didn't work for me. So what does that link take them to, the AP
So if
Seminar?
you were signed into, so if you sign into your son's Google account and you click that link, you'll be able to access it.
Okay.
So the kids will be able to access it, or a parent can access it as long as they're signed into their
Yeah,
child's
yeah.
Google account. Yes.
So when I want to, piggyback on what you were saying, our library is really a great partnership. Not only do they keep the list, they keep shelves and they label the shelves beautifully with every grade level. So if the parents go there before schools get out,
Yep.
there's just far enough books out there. And then if they go a few weeks later, then there's just 1 or 2 to pick from. But I do want to thank them for the partnership. How do you determine, and I know for the elementary, you did mention that the award winners need to be there. How do you determine how many to put in new every year, in this?
So particularly for grades 6 through 8, I work very closely with the public library, and equity is at the cornerstone of all the work I do. And I want to make sure that students have access to texts. So they purchase texts every year in order to make sure that these texts are accessible to students from the public library. I will only change out 1 to 2 titles. So we take a look at, are there books that students have already read, maybe in middle school? So we're going to take that off the grade 9 list. And that was the case for one of the works. Is there an author that students are reading more? We look at our circulation statistics. I find out from Emily Mazzoni at the public library what are kind of the kids into. All of our language arts classrooms have classroom libraries, K through 12.
Yeah.
And the teachers give a lot of input on the topics that students are into, or the feedback that they have.
I love the diversity in authors and the topics. It's really.
We've done a lot of work. New York University puts out a culturally responsive curriculum audit, and they had a piece there. And we used that as a guiding principle several years ago to really make sure that we have something for everyone, something for students who may not be reading at grade level, students who are into graphic novels, into nonfiction, LGBTQ plus issues, just the teenage experience, some of that teen angst, fighting with your parents, things like that, immigrant experiences and things of that nature. So they're really, we try to have something for everyone.
Anybody else have any questions?
I just have a comment. I want to commend you for adding a Toni Morrison book to the list. She's very excellent author, and she's from New Jersey. Yep.
I didn't know that. I'm sure you did that.
Yeah, she was in Trust Our Principal.
Another question? No? Thank you very much. Very interesting. Team arts, I would be Mr. Schneider. Thank you.
Yes. I'm going to be short on this because this is a renewal. We've been doing every year an annual renewal. We've been participating in Teen Arts NJ for many years, and Teen Arts NJ is a nonprofit 501c3 organization. I believe it was established in the 70s. And the mission is really to inspire artistic innovation for students in all aspects of the visual, performing arts, and as well as literature arts. This program provides students in Monroe Township Middle School 6 through 8 the opportunity to audition with their artwork and participate in this program in Middlesex County, where they will get 12 weeks of training with a professional in that specific area. Now, I know this may sound incredibly biased coming from me, but we have a phenomenal program at our middle school in the arts. We shine for Monroe in MTMS. Other districts have modeled a lot of what we are doing currently in the middle school. The way I always looked at this program for teen arts is it's for the specific student to really complement our curriculum and what they are doing in their arts classes currently at the middle school. And that could be anything from theater to vocal music to contemporary modern dance to poetry, photography, drawing, painting, so many different areas. And what I've really taken from this is for certain students in grades 6 through 8, it often is the student that is studying something very unique in their classes, but just scratching the surface and then really taking it to the next level here. Something like poetry, for example. If we, there's always that one student that's, oh my goodness, the student is a prodigy poet. This program through NJ Teen Arts will give them the opportunity to work with a professional in that situation. It's usually limited each year, I believe, Dr. Lehman, to 18 students per year, and we try to spread it out through the different areas of the arts, but it's really a great opportunity for certain students to really take their artwork, whether it's performance, visual, or literature, to the next level. Now, for instance, instrumentally here, I'm going to reference our program. We have a program currently that we run in our district called Vertical Teaching for the band program. In our vertical teaching program, our students for band start in 4th grade with a professional on their instrument that is a professional musician on their instrument. That teacher stays with the students all the way till they get through high school, which is something really awesome that I've been a huge proponent of in the state. I sort of relate that to teen arts a little bit because now a dancer can work with a professional dancer, a poet can work with a poet, a theater student can work with someone who may have been on Broadway. So it's really giving the right student the opportunity to take their work to the next, really to the next level. It is 12 weeks and we have participated in this for as long as I've been in Monroe, for a long time. So I think it's a really nice program for our middle schoolers. And I'd be remiss if I wasn't saying, so I went to the Teen Arts NJ website. What is the first thing I saw on the page is a painting that one of our middle schoolers did back when she was in 7th grade. I'll give her a shout out, Juliette Leung, who I believe is in high school now. Her painting is still on their website right now, a beautiful picture of a frog that she did when she was in grade 7. So there's also someone from East Brunswick right next door, so we're very highlighted. So, but I thought that was really cool that I went to the website today and that happened to pop up. So I think it's a excellent opportunity for our students. I know Dr. Lehman has more about the contractual info on it.
So why 18 students? It's a consistent number that we've been budgeting. So as their cost fluctuates, we maintain the same budget allotment. So the past several years, we've been between 17 and 18 students. That includes a transportation piece. We do not transport them. The transportation is provided by
correct.
NJ Teen Arts. So that's pretty much all I had to add. Some years we have more students that would like to participate. Again, it's a financial piece for us. The one year we had 17 is we just didn't have to pay for all 18. We only paid for 17 because we didn't have 18 qualify. So, or, because it's an audition. So
it is, yeah.
We're not involved in the selection process.
No.
We just have the allotment for the kids that go through and meet the criteria.
And the students audition through either, for instance, if they're doing ballet, they will submit a tape of them doing that. They will submit paintings, post graphic design that they've drawn. If they're a vocalist, they'll submit an audition tape, and it is adjudicated by a panel of just experts through the state in the program. And just based off of looking at the website right now, we've had some great success at the middle school.
So if I can ask a question around that. So is the audition piece is open for anybody who wants to try out?
Correct.
And there's information that's given to all the parents.
Correct.
Parents are aware, and it could be something that we are not really focusing on middle school. Like you just said, ballet, just as an example.
Yes.
No, we don't do that, but the child is pursuing that outside of school, can audition now, and you said they're transported, this is an after-school activity.
It's just, they actually leave the middle school and they miss some of their classes.
Okay.
Correct.
And I don't know if you can speak to how that's worked. It's 12 weeks in a row. It's something that we work with, the teachers will work with when they go to the Middlesex, but it's something, again, we have protocols in place. It's not like 12 days in a row, it's a weekly piece, so we can work around it, but it's worth the adjustments because of the special opportunities the students have.
It is, the information goes out usually late October, early November, and that's when the audition process happens. And then it actually starts in mid to late February and then goes for a 12-week process. We have a teacher that oversees this at the middle school, Mr. Schneider, Samuel Schneider oversees, not to be confused with Mr. Schneider, oversees the program and the transportation for the students to go to Middlesex. So
Thank you for sharing that for the parents that are listening.
Yeah.
And if I could ask this one last question, and then I'll pass to whoever else has questions. If a student auditioned in 6th grade and got in, does the student get the opportunity to try again in 7th and 8th, or are we limiting?
Anybody can audition every year.
Sure.
And just
Okay,
because
so
you're
there
in
is a
6th grade
possibility
doesn't mean you're in
Doesn't-
7th
right.
grade either. It's an
Continues,
annual.
but
it is audition. So just because a student, as Dr. Lennon said, if they get accepted in 6th grade per se, that's not a guarantee that in 7th and 8th grade they will be accepted. They would have to re-audition with either another videotape or another piece of artwork.
And I just want to speak to the budget piece of it and, like Dr. Lehman said, we budgeted a certain amount and it is definitely an extra thing that we're doing as a district. So this year we are fine. We have this budgeted in. If ever it comes to that, then we have to rethink the numbers that we're going to be able to support.
Sure.
Any of the other board members have a question on that? Yes, Mr. Blackman.
How much of school are they gonna miss? When do they actually get out of school to attend? This is a 12-week.
It is only it's not full days. It's in the afternoon. It's usually, I think, after lunch, that they get out. So it's, I think, less than a half of it. I can find out
So it's about
specifically,
a couple hours.
but yeah, it's less than half a day.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
They start the school day
12.
normally.
Yes, correct, correct, yeah.
They have lunch and they go up there.
And
No, it's over the course of 12 weeks, so it's a 12-week program with.
Day.
Correct, yeah.
is this every single, once the program is initiated, is it one that runs consecutively during the week? In other words, they're out for 12 weeks, Monday through Friday?
No, it would be one time per week for 12 weeks. There would be like 12 sessions basically throughout the time, starting again in about mid to late February, for the students that are accepted and that have that want to join the program.
So it won't have a tremendous impact, really, understood.
No, and from what because I formerly being a band director and the percussion teacher, I actually had through the years, my own students have gone through this for one thing or another. And what I can tell you about the students that were involved with this is they were very good and diligent about making up work and letting me know, hey, Mr. Snyder, I can't go to my percussion lesson today because of this. And then we would reschedule. They were really responsible, I found.
So let me, if I might, just make a quick statement.
Sure.
On this, if I may. I would assume that when kids go out and they audition for this kind of a program, this is a program that probably has very high expectations. Would I be correct to say?
Correct.
And so would I be correct also to say that this is a program in the arts that is really for gifted students in each of those areas?
I think that there's opportunities here for all learners in this program, just depending on what because a lot of this it just depends on what they're going towards and what they are really focusing their artistic nature on. So yes, the expectation is definitely high, but I believe achievable for all learners. Just it depends on which aspect of the interest that they would be going towards.
Because it's not open-ended. I mean, certainly what they're going to do is open-ended in terms of what the performance, but they have certain expectations within the program for kids who are going to enter.
This is one of the areas where I'm actually not too familiar where I could speak comfortably on the adjudication process, other than it's adjudicated by a team of professionals. But with other things like Region Band and in CJMA and NJMA, I could tell you every single point of how the audition process works. I am not as familiar to comfortably speak on how it would be adjudicated, but I do know it's adjudicated very fairly by the.
How are the kids identified for inclusion into the program?
I would have to really look into that and get back to you. But to answer your original question, I do know all learners are free to participate in this program, and there's opportunities for all types of learners.
My only concern is how you identify them within the school environment.
Sure.
For involvement in this program.
To everybody.
Yeah.
Anybody
Everybody
in
can
the school.
apply.
Sure.
So there's a general solicitation, and it's not just limited to performing arts, because as Mr. Snyder mentioned, there are various language arts, humanities categories.
But they still got to go through the audition process.
Yes, so we have an individual at the middle school that's designated as the point person for the school. So
Correct.
what he does is he prepares general correspondence that goes out to all the students and their parents earlier in the year, I believe around October.
No, in November.
In November.
November, yeah.
And what it does.
Late
is
October,
It
November.
provides a catalog of all the programs available through Teen Art, and also the requirements for audition and really sort of the expectations
Yes.
of what the students can meet, deadlines, but also because you're leaving the site of the middle school and they attend, I believe, Middlesex College, right?
Correct.
So they go to Middlesex College, there's also a component where student expectations of behavior, decorum inside the, they address all of those things proactively, and that's actually part of the screening process. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, there is a character evaluation component.
Correct.
To admissions as well. So, but all of this is communicated to the parents on the.
Yes.
front end of things.
Yes, but you've sparked my interest. I'm very interested in learning more about the adjudication process of exactly how it is. So I'm going to have a conversation with Mr. Schneider to see if I can get a little more insight on what the rubrics are like, is it out of a 10-point scale, a 5-point, the specifics, because I'm very interested myself. So it's a great question.
Well, I must also tell you that, I love programs like this because I used to run art symposiums years ago, many, many years ago. So the arts to me are extremely important. And when you offer something like this for these kids, they have no idea the experience they're going to get. My only concern would be that we over-identify or we allow kids to go into this program who might not have the success and they're eliminated from the program. So I just want to make sure that when we go ahead and identify these kids, we're identifying the kids who will have that success in the program. So that was my only concern.
Sure.
I think from my understanding, go ahead, Dr.
Yeah, from a district perspective, it's open access.
Okay.
We're not screening anyone. Anyone in our schools can submit an audition.
Yes.
The professionals at Middlesex College are the ones that are doing the screening and the auditioning and the entry. So our role is to get the information out. We have the funds set aside to pay for the students to go. Everything else is on Middlesex College to identify and use whatever threshold the professionals will use to identify those students.
Have we ever had children who were refused admission to this program?
Refused admission?
Yeah.
I would say, I'm sure there are students that apply.
Applying then didn't.
I'm sure there are. I don't have a.
We do limit, if I can say that here, our budget is for 18 students, that's
Right.
$50,000.
Right.
If we have so many kids in middle school, when they audition and they're able to pick 25, we still have to limit to 18 because that's the
Okay.
budget set aside.
That's,
So to answer your question, I think that's the bigger limiting factor than the talent in our students, because I'm sure there's much more talent here knowing our school.
If I may just round it off, and Mr.
Yeah,
Schneider
I-
being too humble, as the supervisor of the performing arts, we haven't run into that problem, thankfully. And what we're able to do is because with that cap, those seats a lot of times are limited to the student, or offered, I should say, or taken up by the students that don't have access to the programs that would be offered by Middlesex. And what I mean by that is, Mr. Snyder referenced his instrumental music program, which is widely considered the gold standard of instructional models throughout the state. Our students, from our opinion, and generally from the opinion of the participating students, prefer to be with our teachers here in the district rather than at Middlesex. And in many instances, many of the teachers running those programs are high school band teachers, so for purposes of continuity and instructional efficacy, they remain here. The students that tend to go out there are the ones that maybe are exploring theater, creative writing, film study, some of the programs where our district may be currently in our current construct may not be able to offer them that advanced experience or maybe the more rigorous experience that teen arts can. And that's when that would become an option for them. But generally speaking, in the fine performing arts, our students that would meet the criteria for qualification prefer to stay with us in our own in-district co-curricular and curricular programs.
Thank you
Sure.
very much, I appreciate it.
and to piggyback off of what Mr. Morales said, so this is one area where it's actually a small number. I referenced it a tiny bit before, but for CJMEA, middle school, region band, chorus, and percussion ensemble, we have at sometimes over 50 students auditioning for both instrumental and choir. This year we had, I think, a record number of students accepted out of those into those. That is much more of a rigorous audition and a much bigger pool going to this. Again, to piggyback is a little more, in some cases, almost a little more niche-like for certain students, where Mr. Meralda said.
It fills a wonderful gap.
It
for us,
fills a little bit of a
humanity.
gap where I look at it as I said at the beginning of the presentation, sort of a complement to our curriculum, where they sort of can scratch the surface of something and really take it to the next level through this program. So,
Well, I thank you for the explanation.
Yeah.
It's much clearer now for me at least.
I'm sorry, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on, Dr. Lehman, would you like to take on the
Sure.
legal training?
Yeah, I'll make it real quick so we can give some time to
Yes.
the,
He's looking
so,
But we've got quite a few renewals also, right?
yep. So annual legal training, it's, something I just like to highlight. The administrative team has a requirement for, annual legal training. So we bring in, NJPSA Legal One to our summer administrative workshop. So that, professional development will be on the board for approval. It costs $2,500 to bring them in. They work with us for a half a day. That is a much more cost-effective way than sending each one of us out individually for probably $300 to $500 a person for an individualized training. So it's something we've been doing for years. The nice piece about bringing them to our district, the topic is always called Hot Topics in School Law. So they will cycle back to any issues that have come to their attention or come through the legal world over the past school year and kind of update us on anything relevant. But we also can bring topics to them that we may be seeing within our district that isn't necessarily hot topics for anybody else. So within the next week or two, probably 3 weeks, I'll reach out to the administrative team and say, hey, what have you guys coming across in your buildings? You got anything that you want me to reach out to Dave Nash, as the attorney that comes to work with us? So that he can prepare customized presentation to us. And it's actually really well. We hit on, all the standard topics, everything from tenure laws to seniority and things like that, and any cases that have come through. But then there's, like I said, unique things, whether it's, there's a lot of athletic stuff that comes through sometimes each year with, competitions, and think about the basketball tournament over the winter. I'm sure there's going to be stuff coming out of there that we can put on our radar to be proactive about. And there's stuff we don't even know about that he's seen that he wouldn't want us to have to worry about either. So they'll share with us. So it's just a nice opportunity for us to get this personalized kind of unique training. And we all really enjoy it, believe it or not, that a legal training doesn't always sound like enjoyable. We do enjoy it because it's relevant to us and it's personalized for us.
And I know this group presents at the NJSBA workshop and they just make it interesting. So
They do.
I completely agree with you. It's very entertaining
Yep.
to hear about the various stories out there. So
And they've actually reached out. It was right around the COVID timeline, and then we can cycle back. Because they're right down the street from us, they're at the end of Applegarth Road towards exit 8A. They're in one of the business parks over there. They have a big presentation center because we're central New Jersey. So when they host conferences, North and South Jersey kind of come here and meet. They really like our facilities. So we do have an opportunity. Sometimes they make videos and things like that to develop a partnership. And they did bring our attention to that. So it's something we always have on the table.
thanks, sir.
Yep. All right, so do you want to run down some of the athletic renewals? Most of them are athletic, and I can kind of pick up some of the individual singletons left over.
Sure, so I'll go over the athletic renewals. We have 7 subscriptions that we use. The first one is going to be Arbiter. We use that for that's our registration platform. We use that at the high school and at the middle school for our parents to submit the paperwork that we have that's required by the state for, for athletics. So that's, I believe, 4,225. We have Huddle, which is a video subscription for athletics. Our teams use this for scouting. It is also the platform that we use for streaming. Right now, we've been able to stream a lot of our volleyball games and basketball games in the gym. We're working actually right now through some internet type of things in order to stream in the fall as well in our main field to be able to stream football, flag football, lacrosse, and all those types of sports. So and the coaches also use this for education as they get a lot of the video for their teams and they sit down with their student athletes and go over the film and some of the things that they did right, some of the things that they did wrong. So that's the video subscription we use for that. That is 12,800. We have Our School Today, which is the platform that we use for what we call activity scheduler, which is where most of the calendar and schedule comes out for athletics. It's also a really neat interface as well, which we can use with our new athletics website, as well as our ticketing platform. It's all integrated. So, when someone in the community goes to buy a ticket, they can actually go to the same site that has our athletic schedule, and things like that in order to purchase those tickets. And it's also a really good area to promote a lot of our sports and student team achievements as well. That's 595. Next, we have Coach Evaluator. Coach Evaluator is the newest one out of the bunch. It is a coach evaluation software that provides the athletic department an opportunity to have an online platform to evaluate the coaches. It's fully customizable, and it's also available for the coaches to work throughout the year with filling out the forms that are within there. Obviously aligning that to their job descriptions and things of that nature. And it's also really good for end of season reports where the coaches can put in information like their, the overall records, team awards, rosters, and also to verify and keep count of their coaching certifications, which are required by the state as well for us to do. So it's a neat place to kind of keep it, kind of streamline things instead of having, papers and, and all those types of things, which is a little bit more outdated. The next one is GoFan. I'm sorry, the cost for the activity scheduler, for the coach evaluator was $998 for the year. GoFan is the online ticketing platform. We did use it this year. There is no cost to the district for us to use this. I'm happy to share that using this platform this year, we've been able to take out about $90,000 of cash that we would have gotten either through cash or checks and things of that nature that have now gone automatically through through the system, which again I think it's been really great. We not only use it in athletics, we're also using it with our enrichment programs as well as many clubs. I can tell you right now that one of the clubs is using it for the senior events at the end of the year, and I think it's been very easy to use. We're not using it as a sole system. We still have the ability to have some cash and and all those types of things to cater to many of our community members. But I think it has been something that has been pretty successful this year. We have Gipper, which is a software for custom social media graphics and content. We use this for things like signing day and whenever we host events or do special announcements. If you guys walk down the hallway, you'll see on the TVs, some of the special graphics that are on there. It's a neat program for us to use for that to kind of highlight, again, a lot of the student achievements and things that we have going on throughout the year. And it's also very neat to post things up like, we have multiple events in one day. We can kind of pre-upload them beforehand. So like we can do on a Friday, load up different things to go out throughout the week through our various social media platforms as well. That is $1,500 for the year. And then lastly, we have Periweather, which is another new software. This is a comprehensive weather software, which allows us to provide alerts when it comes to lightning, as well as heat and cold. In athletics, I think it's very important for us to be able to reach out to coaches and community members in a timely manner when it comes to, removing our student athletes from the fields. Right now, the only system that we really have to use is having our athletic trainers reach out to the coaches. Sometimes we have coaches in different places. So it is very neat if we have the opportunity to use this software. I have about 35 individuals that I can load up into the system with their phone numbers. And anytime that there's a ping for lightning, or if it's too hot, or if it's too cold for our student athletes to be outside, I can essentially regulate, what the parameters are going to be, and texts are going to go out automatically without having our staff having to go outside. And I think it would be obviously, beneficial for our student athletes from a safety standpoint. And that would be $3,750. And it is something that I asked to be budgeted for next year. That's what I got for athletics.
Veronica, which one of these contracts is brand new this year, the coach evaluator?
So all of the newer ones are going to be coach evaluator and Periweather athletics. Yes, all of which I included.
What were we doing before Periweather and before coach evaluator?
Yeah, so for coach evaluator, it was more of a pen and paper type of system that we were using, as there was no specific software, for that. And again, in today's day and age, when it comes to things like keeping records for coaches, keeping records for, special accolades for some of our student athletes and things like that, it's kind of hard to, to go to the pen and paper method. So now if everything is electronic, it's also easier for the coaches to kind of work on that, throughout the year. And then, at the end of the year, when I sit down and have an end of year evaluation with them, it's much easier to have everything in one specific location. For Periweather, right now, what we use, it's really just the athletic trainers going outside. We use various phone apps just to track if there's any lightning in the area, but then we have to essentially reach out via phone call or via text to individual groups and trying to reach all the coaches at the same time. This system would do it automatically, to everyone that we have in the system. So it would ideally streamline that process for us.
And the Gipper media, it's mostly for social media, is that what it is?
Yeah, so it's mostly for social media. It creates graphics for us, and again, it allows us to, send out different posts through different outlets. I know that Mr. Monroe has used it as well in some other areas as well.
Is there another scheduling software that we are using? I thought we had something for the district social media.
So what Gipper does is, and kind of where it borrows from, it functions similarly to Canva,
Okay,
but just really with specializing in competitive events. And when used, so from a like a district standpoint, the athletic office could potentially upload a season's worth of schedules and events aligned with their calendar, and as those events, it works more as a scheduler with graphical.
is it more aligned to athletic posting, athletic social media posting?
Yeah.
Gipper?
It's not limited to that, but that tends to be its niche, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay,
Whereas Canva is a little bit more universal in what it can offer.
And we did use the Gipper this year.
okay. So, and the last one, the huddle.
Mhm.
You say it's a streaming, but we don't normally live stream all sports, right? Is there a reason we can't?
Correct. So right now, the reason why we're not able to live stream all sports is because we don't have we didn't have the connection piece when it came to the our main field. So right now, there's two cameras that we have. We have a camera at our main turf field, and we also have a camera inside of our gymnasium. The gymnasium one has been able to be used as it connects automatically with the internet that we have inside. That connection piece is what we were missing on the outside. But now that we're working towards that, we actually got I spoke with Mr. Feldman today, and they're actually working on that piece to be able to get us up and running for next year so that we can actually stream those events that we have outside. Now, they also have a remote camera that can be used in other fields. That is something that I will be looking into as well. So that we can start streaming some of the sports. Like, for example, if we have something going on in the cage, we can't use that same camera that we have in our main field as it's fixated there. But the idea would be to kind of be able to provide that to the other teams, obviously, to make it fair, who play on some of the other fields as well, to be able to capture them.
Are you able to use Gipper to share the link to the live game?
Correct. So you can use that. You can definitely integrate everything. But for example, in Gipper, I would be able to, let's just say, load up beforehand. Let's just say like a schedule of everything going on during the week and posting it so it's out on social media. Or let's just say as a student athlete wins a specific accolade, being able to kind of, send that out to all social media. And obviously, tying in that graphic piece as well. And it is also something that we would like to incorporate with our internship club, our sport club that we have for the fall, or for next year, really.
Yeah, that's kind of the end game.
That's the end game.
With those types, because what it does is it's something that functions where under the supervision, a student intern could design something almost in like a shared fashion, under Mr. Berendigo, whomever is supervision, like our team managers or whomever, and then they could assist with, coverage. And that kind of the essence of it. But we're gonna talk about that next month, I believe.
Yeah, and it makes it very simple and easy to create, content at a quick rate.
I just had a quick question about the coach evaluator. Is there a reason why we can't use the software that we use for the teachers and administration to evaluate the coaches? Is it like, because they're not district?
Yeah, totally different
Okay.
softwares, yeah. Ours are instructional aligned, and this is a very different piece. Yep.
I don't have any student athletes. So.
I have the question, but I realize in my head they do need to be evaluated differently.
That system specifically with the job description of whom he's evaluating.
Okay.
And it's,
It's cost effective. It's for 75 people for $9.98. Cost effective.
correct. And a lot of our coaches
Yeah.
coach multiple sports, so they have their own their own page, so we kind of just track them throughout the year.
For an intense sports program like ours, to be doing it on paper all the time, we definitely.
And that paves the way for like our legacy programs, Hall of Fame's, alumni stuff. It really allows us to really codify some of that information that just otherwise been lost to us.
And while I'm very supportive of having all of these different technologies, I do not want anything to stay in silos. If it was gotten for athletics, but it's able to be used by any club, I would like to maximize the use of whatever it is that we are approving.
And I think a lot of these new things that,
I was gonna say,
The
Gipper, yeah, could that be used
For everything
for
else?
everything else?
It could be. Well,
I think-
no,
I just know it's
no.
been a conversation with
Yeah,
other
so
kids, like.
there are limits on Gipper that, there are functions in Canva, like that would probably be the closest comparison, like the Canva Premium.
Yeah.
That are available, that are not available in Gipper. Mainly like some of the live media, the animations, and things like that.
Are we using Canva for?
I use primarily, exclusively Canva.
For scheduling?
No, for just, for
For
me.
just the creating, the.
Creation and graphics.
Creators, but We're
Gipper
using
is a little bit
something
more
else for-
operational.
We're using something else for our social media scheduling, right? We haven't either a HubSpot or.
As far as like when posts go out and,
Scheduling.
so yeah, so we do have software called Sprout Social that that we can use to schedule, ahead of time, yes.
And that and Gipper don't.
Well, Sprout Social is actually very limiting in what we can do, even in post content editing.
Okay.
And the more complicated the media becomes, the more limiting Sprout becomes.
Okay.
So many of these topics are we're gonna be discussing we have a whole
Yes.
discussion plan for future meetings about web presence and communications. And I think some of the things that, even though we're in the early stages of that, are a lot of these solutions
All
we're
right.
looking for will be embedded in that discussion.
We will leave it
Seems
for
there's
that.
a lot of overlap
Yes.
right
Yeah.
now.
I know the calendar always comes up, at
Yes.
least, and things like that.
Yes. So we will leave it.
Yeah, no, but we're excited to brief
Move
on
on.
that.
So we got 4 more contracts. Before I do that, one quick comment on Huddle. Huddle is also the vehicle in which the NJSIA requires football teams to share video.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's one of the other pieces. And we do use the Huddle cameras on the field. They just can't be the main field, it just can't be live streamed. So
Correct.
Kids are watching that for training.
Yes,
training video.
our own film, yes, but we just haven't been able to live stream it.
So now you
It's
have that.
something that parents have, because a lot of our games start at 4:30.
We want to be able to provide it.
They can't leave work, but they can turn on YouTube.
Absolutely.
The other big, if you don't mind, Steve, sorry,
No, of
'cause I know about Huddle is that it's the primary tool that students use for their college recruiting,
College.
to share content.
And you're making it available,
And
right?
it's universal,
Yeah,
yeah.
they all have
get
access
their
to
own-
it, yeah.
And it's universally utilized throughout the country at all Division I schools that are on themselves.
Mr. Brannigan, that just reminds me, I don't think it's common knowledge amongst our athletes that they have access to, because I have myself had these conversations with many of them looking to apply to universities to play a sport, but they're doing their own recording. Their parents are sitting with, and I'm like, we pay for this. We have these recordings. So I think maybe an information session for our athletes that this is something that the district can provide.
Absolutely.
All right, moving on.
So another annual that we have is the Avid renewal. It's for 3 schools. We do have the threaded theme of Avid through many of our other schools. But this is specifically high school, middle school, and Woodland as the official umbrella of Avid schools. It's another piece that, on our vision is to kind of grow this program. You'll see the tentacles of the Avid strategies branch out. But the program itself has a financial piece to it that will have a strategic process to have to grow that out, as you can see with the cost here. So this is a standard piece. It's our fees plus all of the resources that we are embedded in here that we get. There's monthly newsletters, there's online access to resource tools. And one thing you'll see coming up on this agenda, as well as Dr. Higgins' administrative team going to a Capturing Kids' Hearts summer workshop. You'll see that as PD for approval. You're going to see the Avid summer. I guess it's not just admin, it's also teachers, professional development embedded in there, and that's taking place in Baltimore this year. It used to be in Philly, now it's in Baltimore. Pre-COVID Philly, post-COVID Baltimore.
The Woodland Main is there just as an umbrella for all elementary or?
Woodland is the staff there, the admin team go there. They're an Avid school, so they actually have protocols, a strategic plan embedded in the school itself. There's a required piece. They have goal setting each year. So they're an official Avid school. The high school and middle school have been, for 15 years, 10 years.
What is our plan for equity with other upper elementary schools, Applegarth and Brookside for Avid?
So we, at this time, we've talked about and had very general discussions. Do we go sister school or do we go upper elementary? Again, it's a cost piece of layering in. This is the annual piece, but to get a school started, you're looking at probably 7 to 8 staff members going to the annual training in addition to what we already send for an annual training. So there's a significant cost, and that would be for every school because there's a required startup training. So that's why I said you'll see the tentacles of the Avid program reach out with study skills and the themes and things, but the name itself, we need to secure, we need to allocate and prioritize those funds in that direction. And we just haven't been able to do that yet. We're sitting here today after a budget vote just to maintain what we have. So everything kind of has to have a sequential plan to kind of grow. But the things we can do, again, like the study skills piece, the college awareness, the college themes, we can push those out with not necessarily under the formal school umbrella. And that's something we could do.
So when we go for these contracts, it cannot be for a certain number of staff members. It has to be for a building.
So the way Avid works, it's building by building.
Building by building.
And then in each building, they have plans in themselves to grow their program, share their resources, implement the strategies
Within the building.
within the building. We do turnkey this, and we briefly talked about what that may look like for one of the courses at the middle school next year in terms of sharing those kind of Avid strategies and study skills with our sixth grade students, whether they're formally in an Avid program or not. And that'll be coming up as we write up curriculum and things like that. And that's an example of how we can spread Avid without having to spread the themes of Avid without having to formally engage in the requirements that are embedded with this.
Yes.
Marzano. So this is our annual renewal for our teacher observation tool. It's actually not just teachers, it's nurses, child study team members, pretty much everyone except for our media and literacy specialists. They use Frontline. That's where we house those 7 staff members or 8 staff members under that module. It just has to do with their evaluative tool isn't compatible with our effective educators platform is what we use. So this is a consistent price as it's always been. They charge by the building, there's 8 buildings. This is something that we certainly are looking to update in the short-term future, in the next 3 to 5 years, I would say. Again, there's a financial piece that goes along with the total overhaul of the teacher evaluation system that involves training and things and a pivot on a platform. This is a state-approved evaluation tool.
Yeah.
Our school, that's Schoology. That contract covers teachers' licenses and students' licenses. High school is totally immersed in it. This embeds licenses for other students throughout the district who may use it or teachers who may want to use it. So that's why you see it a little bigger than just the high school number. Again, it's very similar to what we had for last year. And last but not least, Student.
Before we go to that, you said there are students in the district high school that use Schoology?
We have licenses available for staff that would like to leverage it. When I was at Woodland, we had several teachers that piloted using Schoology as a LMS. There are challenges when you don't bring your device home, but there are some teachers that like to use it. We use it staff-wise for New Teacher Academy. So we do a lot of our professional development. So we need enough licenses to cover anyone who might use it,
So
more
we're
than
like-
just the exact students. that use
There's over 4,000 that
Yep.
in there and 2,700 students here, 1,200 overall district staff.
it. Yep,
And then yet there's still like, I'm just questioning the number. I feel like the
Yep.
number is very,
it's enough to cover us to whatever we may need. We've played with that cost per license price.
Mhm.
As we get lower, they increase the cost per license
Okay.
and we end up paying the same amount.
okay.
So this is a sweet spot where it's as many licenses as we can get. If we start to get any lower than that, they say, okay, we're gonna have to charge you more. And we end up with less licenses and we pay the
Login
same.
discount,
So,
yeah.
Yep.
All right. Stukin.
Okay, so Stuken we've been running it now for about 4 years, I believe. And it is a simulation software that is used in our business and marketing electives at the Monroe Central High School. Specifically, they allow you to run simulations in sports and entertainment marketing. You can do everything from franchise management to restaurant management to individual product management, widgets and things of that nature. So as the instructors go through the curriculum, they will layer in some of the simulations when topical, but also they'll do periodic academic games and competitions and things of that nature. It originated as a collegiate simulation software. We adopted it for our classes, and now it since has evolved into a high school platform. And it works on all the devices that our students utilize in high school, so tablets and laptops.
So it's like a virtual internship that our students are doing.
Yeah, sort of. So students will have multiple challenges that they'll have to engage in throughout the course, and some of which multiple weeks, some of which are like spot challenges where they have to tweak prices and try to make adjustments and they learn about how regulations can impact profitability, and the teacher has full control over the conditions that the students have to engage in. So if he wants to create some rough economic conditions, to make their simulation a little more challenging, they can adjust accordingly. And what StuKent does nicely is that they develop modules that we can adapt to what we're teaching in a particular moment in time.
So if I can ask, which curricular courses are using the student?
Omnichannel marketing, and marketing one, and sometimes as students prepare for our DECA and FBLA competitions, they'll use the simulation as kind of a priming.
Very interesting. Anybody have any questions? Thank you. All right, I think you were up again for the summer enrichment.
Did you summer enrichment first?
We
Did you have something else?
Nope.
Okay.
I also have a curriculum document that I.
Yep, and if
Oh,
we run
yes,
out of
sorry,
time, we could always hold that if we need to.
Yeah.
We could push it through, so.
Yeah, summer enrichment's a little more topical because, there's a timeline involved. I'll start this one.
Yeah, they're back.
And then, thank you. And the registry, the second couple pages are just what's available on our website of all of the courses that we are offering. And I tried to make it a little bigger. But really what Dr. Lehman and I had discussed, which we thought would be appropriate for the committee tonight, was kind of the trajectory of the program. We are happy that we are about a full month ahead of schedule with getting information out to the parents and getting our act together. And Mr. Darndika has given me a crash course on how to utilize the GoFan site, which has reduced a significant amount of managerial oversight that had historically plagued the program, both financially because of inefficiencies, but also we didn't think we were selling as effectively and efficiently as we could have. So, in some cases, overselling and underselling programs and not being as cost effective as we would have liked. So we've been able to offer a technological solution to that. The other change that we offered this year, we've been receiving inquiries throughout the last 4 years that this program has run for members of our staff that want to include their children. When we first started, it was very difficult to accommodate that because the program is significantly funded with grant money specifically targeted for Monroe Township students. So obviously we had a hard no on all of those types of inquiries. Then as we transitioned as a district fully run operation, we started revisiting it. And what we decided to do this year is offer all district employees and, everyone that's employed by the district an opportunity to enroll their children with a discount. So we put that out to all staff when we launched last week, and just to give them the opportunity, since this program was built on the back of our staff, to participate. Obviously we still have to assign a fee for them to cover our costs, but that was something that we wanted to do to try to step outside of our traditional construct. Which led us to the next question, which was addressed at this committee with whether or not we would admit students from out of district to our enrichment learning programs. The general answer was always, why not? But the resistance was, well, we want to make sure that we service our students first. We've been live registration now for about a full week, and many of our programs are about 30 to 40% capacity already, with the computer science and robotics programs being much higher. So we want to make sure, and some of the feedback I've received specifically of late in communication with the community is that the community can get frustrated sometimes with the first come, first served style of registration, whether it comes to club selections or other types of things when you have to sign up. So we want to try to be aware of that if parents are working or if they're away on business or even out of the country, that they don't miss an email and miss a chance to sign up. So we were a little nervous about opening the gates to anyone, and then, for registration, because we would hate for a Monroe family to be blocked out, and we are pretty strict with our class sizes. So what we were suggesting was of an early registration window for district students only and staff, relative immediate family of staff, to be open until, we set an arbitrary date of June 1st. But, obviously we can discuss that. And then at that point, we would begin marketing and offering our programs to out-of-district students, so that they could participate in our programs. We hadn't talked about adjusting prices or anything for out-of-district students. We would just keep it standard across the board. My guess is that we would look at our neighboring communities. I've received inquiries already from residents of South Brunswick, Cranberry, Jamesburg, and English County. So we would, my response to them is, well, let me see, and let's check. We don't want to say no, but we also want to make sure that we're servicing our students first. So that was, it wasn't really an ask. It wasn't really this is what we're doing. It was kind of like what do you guys think? I know that it had been discussed about opening our programs to out-of-district students. We've been open for a week now, that's the number, about 30-40% capacity, so we can, I'm confident that our registrations are still gonna come in, and we're early in the season. But I also, don't wanna wait too long. If that's a move that we're gonna go in, so that's kind of where we're at now. We like that date of May 31st, because that gives us a full solid month of getting information out. We're trying not to overload parents with information currently, because it is a busy time of the year, the state testing going on.
Yeah.
But, you know, we want to make sure we're really proud of these programs. There's a lot of, pretty much everything on that list is new. All of our programs, with the exception of some of our programs, have been redesigned, so if someone was here in the past and they wanted to come back, it would be a new experience. We are very mindful of cost and shifting that cost onto the consumer. So you will notice that our registration fees are actually less this year than they were last year. Part of that is to try to be mindful. We know that GoFan does have a processing fee, which is not collected by our district, that's collected by GoFan, and we can't get around that. So we tried to reflect that in a reduction in cost on the parent. But we honor our staff's prevailing wage, and these programs do command costs when it comes to materials and stuff. So we tried to find a magic number that would be responsible and palatable for the taxpayer who did just affirm a budget vote. So that's not lost on us either. But these are enrichment programs. They're open to all learners. We have scheduled very carefully this year to try to complement ESY. But then also try to allow parents to stack courses so that it's a little bit more sensible for them. So I guess right now, what we would like to open up to the team here is whether or not we think that this would be something that's in the interest of the district. It wouldn't change our curriculum. It wouldn't change our approach or our goals. It would literally just offer our programming to more learners outside of our district. You know, to me, the Jamesburg thing seems like a layup, to be honest with you, since they're gonna be ours eventually, and the idea of this program essentially, is just my personal opinion, is that, you know, one of the challenges we have is some of these more complex programs, as we've discussed, sometimes is lost on our GMB students prior to getting here, so the sooner we can expose them, the better. So that would be my initial thought. And Jamesburg, these are, I think, you're already part of our family. But do we want to take a look outside of our borders? And that would be kind of where we're at now, so. I don't know if anyone has any thoughts, but.
Do you have a comment? No. So I absolutely think that the way you've structured it, where you keep it open to Monroe for May 31st and then allow, is very fair. End of the day, the district is putting in the time and effort, and we're hoping to make money out of this. So it's rather than a class running at 70% capacity, we might as well have people come up.
Yeah, so it's gonna run, it's like an airline, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of what we're thinking.
Exactly. The other aspect that you propose here, so were we allowing staff members, families, to participate in the past before?
Not prior, unless they were Monroe residents.
All right. So, but this year we're saying we're gonna allow them and also give them 25% off registration.
Yeah,
Both
we had some staff members this for last year pay the full fee, and it actually didn't feel right. I know, I get it, you know, we're running an organization here, and that's when we started thinking about it. And then we had staff members that were working for us asking, well, can I sign up my own child? And then we started to talk about it, you know, it'd be a nice give back, you know, again, it's only 25%, but it's something that we wanted to do. But yeah, they had previously been not part of this.
I would,
And they, excuse me, I'm sorry, Giselle. They,
Sorry,
yeah, but our Monroe staff members have been alerted, so we're not holding that back yet. That's already been activated, so our
Okay.
staff members have already been notified that this is open.
okay, so they don't have to wait till June 1st. That's
No, ma'am.
I personally would be interested after the summer's over to see what our cost breakup was for district students, for staff members, families that don't live in the district. And, you know, how many of the outside were enrolled, just to help us do this, you know, more efficiently next year. But as such, this looks great. Good luck to you guys. I'm glad you guys are running ahead of schedule. Did you have any comments, any questions? I'm sorry, we're ready. So we will write out.
Just a quick question, how are you advertising this? Just through the emails that the parents get,
So,
or
yes,
outside of the school district?
We haven't, well, I don't know, you haven't targeted, so we don't target at the high school with enrichment communications, because our programs currently aren't offered to them. We've been using Blackboard, trying to be mindful of the volume of information that's been going on, specifically this time of the year. We've been asking some of our teachers that are working here to share at the grade level meetings. Some teachers have been posting on dojos and social media. I'll probably start doing more after testing, state testing is concluded. And then we'll continue to put it out there in dribs and drabs. We do have a website. And it functions very differently than our current website, which is just give you a precursor to how things can be when we move on. But we will, if we go outside of district, we'll utilize a wide variety of other methods that we have.
Because I'm wondering how much of the low enrollment so far is that the information hasn't been out there yet.
Yeah, it's been out for a week. So, it's, and we've been very, we've been trying to be mindful of how we promote it, but we actually like our enrollment trajectory right now.
Good.
We think that, we said we wanted to have 100 tickets sold at the end of the first weekend, and I think we were at about $144. So we're a little ahead of schedule.
That's good.
All right, thank you, everybody, for your time.